Should all animal shelters be no-kill shelters? Against. Group number 1, Zoe Jolly,
And Manny Parameno.
Animals in Society, Section 10. General history. The first official animal shelter was created in 1869 by the Women's Pennsylvania Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, founded by Caroline Earle White. Caroline Earle White was originally an animal rights activist fighting against the cruel treatment of carriage horses, which is what got her interested in creating an animal shelter in the first place. In the 1960s and 1970s, private animal shelters started to form in addition to the municipal ones. During these years, animals began to shift in the eyes of the people from health hazards and nuisances to pets. Early animal shelters started as a place for horses to go and evolved over time to add dogs, cats, small animals, and even livestock. Animal shelters have evolved significantly over the years in these key areas: animal welfare, population control, foster homes, and behavioral trainers. In the early stages of animal shelters, many of the strays were euthanized. Animal welfare was not a priority at this point in time. In today's animal shelters, there is more priority placed on animal welfare and adoption. For instance, behavioral trainers have been implemented in animal shelters in order to target specific undesirable behavioral traits that could prohibit an animal from being adopted. Foster homes also promote adoptability by allowing the animals to get used to being in a home, for instance, being potty trained, or cats can learn to work with other types of animals, such as dogs. Population control is also very important in today's society, with less animals being on the streets and in shelters because they have been fixed. Over the years, many different types of animal shelters have been created, such as private shelters and breed specific shelters. Private shelters are shelters that pull from open intake shelters. They have the right to refuse animals if they are at full capacity or if they are concerned about not being able to find that animal a home. For instance, the animal has chronic health issues or behavioral issues. Breed-specific shelters are exactly as the name implies. They are shelters that only accept a certain breed of dog. For instance, the shelter that I volunteer at, Fresno Bully Rescue, only accepts bully type breeds such as bulldogs, pit bulls, and American bullies.
History of why kill shelters came to be. Private humane societies were made in the late 1800s as a response to the government's methods of handling animals overpopulating by offering a more humane way of killing animals.
Ethical aspects. Traditional animal shelters accept almost all animals, whereas no kills turn animals away based on health, temperament, and the prospect of adoptability. In the event that traditional shelters do have to turn animals away, they spay or neuter them first to prevent population increase, the number one reason why there is such overcrowding in animal shelters. Animals may spend their entire lives in cages with little stimulation in these no kill animal shelters. Animals often have to live with health issues when a shelter is 100% against euthanasia, which reduces quality of life. The main goal of these traditional animal shelters is to have a steady flow of animals into the shelter and out of it. They know when it is morally correct to euthanize an animal.
Cultural importance. Traditional animal shelters are so important to local communities. They don't just help with animal overpopulation, they also bring people together and help the community grow. They host events like adoption fairs and educational programs that teach people about responsible pet ownership. These shelters are open to volunteers from all kinds of backgrounds, giving everyone a chance to give back, learn new skills, and connect with others. Additionally, traditional shelters often provide a path for incarcerated individuals to fulfill their community service or parole requirements. This not only helps the shelter by providing additional support, but also giving individuals a chance to rehabilitate and contribute positively to society. These programs can be life changing, offering participants valuable experience and a sense of purpose.
Sociological importance. Safer neighborhoods. A decrease in the number of strays decreases the health risks in the neighborhoods. Clean conscience. People feel better adopting from a local shelter rather than purchasing pets. For instance, the saying, adopt don't shop, relates to adopting from a shelter rather than buying from a breeder. Secure solution. County run animal shelters are often a secure solution for people to place strays. When people find a stray they are unable to care for, their first thought is their local county animal shelter. Connection. Unlike many no kill shelters, federal animal shelters work with local police to pick up strays, which helps connect more owners to their lost pets. Population control. Federal animal shelters provide spay and neuter with adoptions as well as sterilization options for trap neuter release, which benefits communities with overpopulation problems. Helps with loss. Volunteering in a local animal shelter can help with the loss of a pet or even a family member. The numbers 50 million. The amount of money allocated to California county animal shelters in 2021. 4.8 million. The number of animals adopted from public shelters in 2023. 70 plus. The number of pets spayed/neutered and vaccinated per clinic at Fresno Animal Center. These numbers are statistics representing the impact traditional animal shelters have nationwide, statewide, and locally.
Why are people against it? Animals don't have enough space for themselves. According to Animal Sheltering versus Animal Warehousing, it is stated that in a Los Angeles County DACC, 3 to 4 large dogs or 5 to 7 small dogs were housed in each dog run. 2 to 3 cats would be housed in the same cage competing for space with the food, litter box, or water. Animals will often spend the rest of their lives with limited mental stimulation. Animals won't get to experience new things, such as going on a car ride or being greeted when their owners get home. Limited resources to take care of animals that are sick, and spay/neuter and vaccines are often not included with adoptions. To summarize it, people are often against kill shelters because of several concerns. Animals in these shelters often lack enough space and mental stimulation, leading to stress and behavioral problems. Limited resources can also prevent shelters from providing adequate medical care, especially for sick or injured animals. Additionally, spay/neuter and vaccination services are sometimes not included with adoptions, which can contribute to continued overpopulation and health issues. Critics argue that these shelters may not be the most humane option and that more focus should be placed on no kill shelters, adoption programs, and spay/neuter initiatives to tackle the root cause of animal overpopulation. Current event number one. During and after the COVID 19 pandemic, it led to overcrowding, staff at the shelters being very overwhelmed, not enough volunteers, and increased risk of animal neglect and abuse. To summarize it, shelters faced unexpected challenges. Overcrowding became a serious issue as many people surrendered their pets due to financial struggles or even lifestyle changes. Shelter staff became overwhelmed with increased workload, often struggling to meet the growing demand for care. At the same time, there weren't enough volunteers to help, as restrictions and safety concerns kept many people away due to the COVID 19 pandemic. This put additional pressure on shelters and increased the risk of animal neglect or abuse simply due to the lack of resources. Despite these challenges, though, traditional shelters continue to do their best to serve animals and their communities, showing just how vital their role is. Current event number two. Changes in animal welfare laws led to shelters enduring more animals than when it's meant to hold. According to Pandwani on NPR, she states, quote unquote, the shelter was built to accommodate 300 dogs and 160 cats. That was before the no kill policy took effect 10 years ago in Austin. Now there are over 500 dogs and over 600 cats. These animals are either living out their lives or waiting to be adopted. Resources. Due to animals overcrowding, animals aren't provided much care when needed. Financial strain. Due to animal shelters having many animals and having to rely on donations, this led to problems as well.
Current event number 3. This article is entitled California Wants Better Animal Shelter Conditions, Stray Population Curbed by the LA Times. This article discusses proposed legislation in California to aid county shelters in functioning at max capacity. As mentioned on the previous slides, overcrowding in county shelters is a huge problem. One of the proposed solutions to this is a quote, high volume spay and neuter certification program for veterinary students at UC Davis and the Western University College of Veterinary Medicine. The goal is to expand the number of people who are legally allowed to perform spay and neuter procedures. This will help decrease stray numbers, therefore decreasing the number of shelter animals. This article also touches on proposed legislation for improved animal management in shelters, such as requiring a veterinarian assessment of every animal as it enters the shelter in order to control the potential spread of disease. Animal shelter facts. 1 out of 4 dogs that enter shelters are purebred. 2.7 million shelter animals are adopted yearly. 76.6% of shelter animals are saved in America. Overcrowding is the main issue in animal shelters.
I would also like to add on to this. Only about 50% of pets in shelters are adopted. The average length of a stay for a shelter dog is about 25 days. Over 60% of cats in shelters are not adopted within the first year. This is often due to misconceptions about their behavior or the preference for dogs over cats. Informed opinion. While kill shelters can be controversial, it's important to understand how vital they are for managing animal populations and keeping both animals and communities safe. Overcrowding is a big problem in many shelters, and without euthanasia, animals could be left to suffer on the streets or in bad conditions. Kill, shel- Kill shelters give animals a safe place to stay and a chance to be adopted, but when adoption isn't possible, euthanasia helps prevent them from suffering unnecessarily. Additionally, while space/neuter services and vaccinations should be a priority, it's important to understand that kill shelters are often working with tight financial constraints. They do their best to address the overpopulation problem, but without sufficient resources, they can only do so much. The goal is to prevent the cycle of abandonment and neglect from continuing, and sometimes euthanasia is necessary to ensure that limited space and resources are used in the most responsible way. In the face of these challenges, kill shelters help reduce the risk of neglect, abuse, and the strain on local communities. It's not an ideal solution, but it is a practical and humane one, given the reality of animal overpopulation and limited resources shelters face.
Informed opinion. From the research presented in this slideshow, I have concluded that traditional animal shelters are needed in our society. These shelters are government funded and provide so many services to the public, from spay/neuter to vaccines and even community service opportunities. These shelters keep far more animals off the streets than their limited capacity counterpart, no kill shelters. These shelters know when it is morally and financially wrong to keep an animal alive. For these reasons and more, I believe that we should not make all animal shelters no-kill shelters.
Here are our resources if you would like to go look at them for yourselves. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the presentation.